Hello everyone, welcome to Time Classes. In this lecture, we will discuss some current affairs as well as some concepts and current affairs related to the economy and the banking sector. So let's get started. So here in front of you on the screen, you can see the first question is there, which says, in which month will India serve as president of the powerful 15-nation United Nations Security Council? Is it going to be September 2020? Is it going to be August 2021? Is it September 2021? February 2021? Or is it December 2020? Well, India incidentally was elected as a non-permanent member to the United Nations Security Council on January 1st, 2021. And India was elected along with countries like Norway, Ireland, Mexico, and Kenya. The interesting point is, there are 192 member states of United Nations Security Council, and therefore that means there are 192 votes which would be cast in favor of any country to become a non-permanent member. And in this case, India actually was able to secure a record 184 votes out of 192 votes out there. So 184 countries favored India to become a non-permanent member of United Nations Security Council. And each of these non-permanent members, they get a chance to preside over the UN body for a period of 1 month. And as such, India would be presiding in the month of August 2021. And in 2022 again, India would get another chance. So here the right answer is August 2021, which is the second option. Okay friends, let's go to the next question. Now the next question says, which of the following pharmaceutical companies in India has launched FabiFlu, a drug approved for the treatment of COVID-19 patients in all COVID-19 diseases, as such you can say? Is it Glen Pharmaceuticals? Is it Sun Pharmaceutical Industries Limited? Is it Aurobindo Pharmaceutical Limited? Is it Lupin Limited, or is it Kerala Healthcare Limited? Right. Let's understand a few things out here. Now, FabiFlu, has become, FabiFlu has actually become the first repurposed drug approved for the oral treatment of COVID-19 infection in India. And the Drug Controller General of India, the DCGI. What is the full form of DCGI? It is Drug Controller General of India. Has given the Mumbai-based Glenmark Pharmaceuticals the permission to manufacture and market FabiFlu. It's not FabiFlu, sorry, my mistake. It is Favipiravir. FaviPiravir. That is Favipiravir. So Glenmark Pharmaceuticals has got the permission from the Drug Controller General of India to market and to manufacture and market Favipiravir in tablet form to treat patients with mild to moderate COVID-19 infection. Okay? And this drug Favipiravir would be launched in India under the brand name FabiFlu, FabiFlu. It's written there on the screen, right? So that's the thing. And Glenmark conducted clinical trials of Favipiravir in May, and the drug was administered to 150 COVID-19 patients with mild to moderate illness, right? And in India, luckily COVID-19 virus is weak, right? And if detected early, when the infection is in the mild to moderate stage, so they can actually be treated with this FabiFlu drug. Isn't that fantastic, right? And the drug was used to treat the patients for 14 days. But the study lasted for a month and concluded that Favipiravir, or FabiFlu in this case, showed clinical improvements by about 88% in the patients. That is huge, 88%, right? So that's the thing. It has not yet been published in a peer-reviewed journal, but as long as it is tested and verified and the trials have been done, I think that should be a good enough thing, right? So Favipiravir, which is being marketed as FabiFlu, was a front runner among 25 repurposed drugs the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, the CSIR, was trying out for COVID-19 treatment. So that actually is a huge achievement. So in this case, the right answer is Glenmark Pharmaceuticals. A few things about the companies. Glenmark Pharmaceuticals. It is actually headquartered in Mumbai, and it was founded in 1977. By Gracias Saldanha. So that's the thing, Gracias Saldanha. Right, and then as I said, is headquarters in Mumbai, and the current CEO of this company is Glenn Mario Saldanha. So these are the important points that you should remember for general knowledge and all as well. The spelling of the CEO is GLENNMARIO So Glenn Mario Saldanha, right? So that's this particular company. Then we have Sun Pharmaceuticals again. Again it's another Indian pharmaceutical company. India is actually doing very well in the pharmacy sector, so that's again something that you should know. It is again headquartered in Mumbai, and the founder of this company was Mr. Dilip Sanghvi, right? And again it was founded in Goregaon, Mumbai. So that's also something that you should know. Aurobindo Pharmaceutical Company is limited, is headquartered in Hyderabad. So that's another interesting thing that you should know about Aurobindo Pharmaceutical Limited. And then we have Lupin. As you can see, then we have Lupin out here. Lupin Limited is again an Indian multinational pharmaceutical company. Again it is based out of Mumbai, and the key focus of Lupin is actually pediatrics, cardiovascular, anti-infectives, diabetology, asthma, and anti-tuberculosis. The CEO of Lupin, as far as I remember, is Mrs. Vinita D. Gupta, and as I said before, it is headquartered in Mumbai, and it was founded by Deshbandhu Gupta in 1968. By Mr. Deshbandhu Gupta in 1968. Then we have Cadila Healthcare Limited. Again, it's an Indian pharmaceutical company, but it is headquartered in Ahmedabad, right? And it's again a very popular, it's a leading pharmaceutical company in India actually. And the current CEO of Cadila Healthcare Limited is Mr. Pankaj Patel. And the founder was Mr. Raman Bhai Patel. And it was founded in 1952. It was founded in 1952. Okay, friends. Now let's move to the next question. Now the next question says the population of the Asiatic lions in the Gir forests in the country is now 674 in this year 2020, right? And which is an increase of 29%. In which state is the Gir forest located? I think this is quite an easy question. Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Gujarat, Telangana, Arunachal Pradesh. A few things that you should know about Gir National Park and Wildlife Sanctuary, also known as Sasan Gir. It is a wildlife sanctuary near Talala Gir. That's a place in Gujarat, actually, in India, right? Before the close of the last century, the Asiatic lion had become extinct from its range, except for Gir. Right, so it was only in Gir where they were actually surviving. By the end of the 19th century, the then Nawab of Junagadh gave the number of lions in Gir as dozen. So there were like only 12 lions in Gir forest at that point of time. The Nawab provided adequate protection to the lions, and their population increased between the year 1904 to 1911, and from 1911 onwards, hunting was rigidly controlled. So that's how we were working towards increasing the population of the lions. And the population of Asiatic lions has actually gone up from 523 in 2015 to 674 in 2020, right? So the same period also saw a 36% increase in the distribution area of the lions, from 22,000 square kilometers in 2015 to about 30,000 square kilometers in 2020. Right, so the right answer here is 3, which is Gujarat. So Gir forests, they are located in Gujarat. Okay, friends, now let's come to the next question. RBI has constituted an internal working group headed by Dr. P.K. Mohanty to review the extant guidelines on ownership and corporate structure for Indian private sector banks, review the development of the secondary market for corporate loans, review the functioning of RRBs and urban cooperative banks, review the liquidity management framework, and review the housing finance securitization market. So let's try and understand some things about this internal working group. This was constituted by the Reserve Bank of India, and the primary objective of this internal working group was for reviewing the extant guidelines on ownership and corporate structure for Indian private sector banks. And this is actually very important because a lot of problems have been going through the Indian private sector banks actually. And this internal working group will be headed by Dr. Prasanna Kumar Mohanty, who is currently the director of the Central Board of RBI. The internal working group is supposed to submit its report by 30th of September 2020. 30th of September 2020. So this is an important date that you should remember. So the terms, so this internal working group, so the correct answer in this case would then become the purpose of this internal working group is to review the extant guidelines on ownership and corporate structure for Indian private sector banks. So that's the thing. And if you talk about the internal working group composition, it consists of 5 members. So the first one, of course, is there on the screen, Dr. P.K. Mohanty, which is Dr. Prasanna Kumar Mohanty, who happens to be the director of Central Board of RBI. Then we have again Professor Sachin Chaturvedi, who happens to be again the director of Central Board of RBI. Then we have Srimati Lili Vadera, who happens to be the executive director of RBI. Then we have Shri S.C. Murmu, who happens to be again executive director of RBI. Then we have Shri Mohan Yadav, who happens to be the chief general manager, RBI convener. And another thing that you should remember is, the current RBI's governor is Mr. Shaktikanta Das, and it is headquartered in Mumbai. And when was RBI founded, by the way? It was founded in 1935, the 1st of April 1935 in Kolkata, right? So that's the thing. Okay, so the next question that we have on the screen is, who are the beneficiaries of the newly launched Garib Kalyan Rozgar Abhiyan? Is it the weavers in rural India, in rural areas, or are they the returnee migrant workers affected by COVID-19? Is it the SC/ST population in rural areas, or are they the rural artisans, like the potters and all, or are they the unorganized working population? Let's try and understand a few things. So the government of India launched the Garib Kalyan Rozgar Abhiyan, which is GKRA initiative to it was launched to tackle the impact of COVID-19 on migrant workers in India. And it is a rural public works scheme which was launched on 20th of June 2020. So this scheme was launched on 20th of June 2020 with an initial funding of 50,000 crores, that is approximately $7 billion, right? So that's the kind of size that we have here, right? So GKRA aims to, Garib Kalyan Rozgar Abhiyan aims to give 125 days of employment to 670,000 migrant workers, which is pretty huge, right? Approximately 2/3 of the total migrant labor force that has gone back to rural areas. And the scheme would be covering about 116 districts in 6 states. The scheme would be covering approximately 116 districts in 6 states, and the 6 states are Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Odisha, and Jharkhand, right? So these are the states where this scheme would be applicable, right? And the scheme is a joint effort of 12 different ministries and departments that cover about 25 categories of works and work and activities. So basically the answer in this case is the Garib Kalyan Rozgar Abhiyan has been launched for the returnee migrant workers affected by COVID-19. and the migrant worker story has been all over the news that you must have already seen. Now the next question that we have here is, which of the following statements is or are incorrect regarding National Housing Bank? So which of the following statements is or are incorrect regarding the National Housing Bank? The first option says NHB was established in 1987 with its headquarters in New Delhi. It is a wholly owned subsidiary of the RBI. It registers, regulates and supervises housing finance companies. It refinances the housing loans given by housing finance companies by up to 100% under special housing schemes, and none of the above. Okay, na? So that's the thing. Let's try and understand a little bit about National Housing Bank. It's a government of India owned entity. First of all, that's something that you should understand. And it was set up on 1988, on 9th of July 1988, if you want the precise date, under the National Housing Bank Act 1987, right? And the objective of National Housing Bank has been to operate as a principal agency to promote housing finance institutions both at local and regional levels. So that's another very interesting thing, and to provide financial and other incidental financial and other kind of support to these kind of institutions. So that's something that you should know. So the Finance Act 2019 has amended National Housing Bank Act 1987. The amendment confers the powers of regulations of housing finance companies to Reserve Bank of India. So now Reserve Bank of India will be able to regulate National Housing Bank. So NHB registers and supervises housing finance companies, keeps surveillance basically through on-site and off-site mechanisms, and coordinates with other regulators. So that's actually a lot of things that it does, right? Which of the following statement is or are incorrect regarding National Housing Bank? It is a wholly owned subsidiary of RBI. So the right answer here would be second. It is a wholly owned subsidiary of RBI. The second option here is correct. But correct in the sense that it is incorrect regarding the National Housing Bank. It is not a wholly owned subsidiary of RBI but the Government of India. Right. Okay. Now the next question says, which of the we've already gone through that. Then we have, which of the following organizations has hosted a virtual observance event for the International Day of Family Remittances 2020? Is it UNCTAD, which is UNCTAD? Is it IFAD? Is it IMF? Or is it WTO? Or is it UNDP? Well, it is actually the organization which has hosted a virtual observance even for the International Day of Family Remittances 2020 is International Fund for Agricultural Development, right? And basically this has been done to support remittances families, building resilience in time of crisis, on June 16, 2020. So that's what it has done. So this organization, IFAD, or the International Fund for Agricultural Development, as an international financial institution, and basically it specializes in or it addresses poverty and hunger, in rural areas of developing countries. And IFAD's headquarters is located in Rome, Italy, and the current head is Mr. Gilbert Hombo. The spelling is Houngbo. Gilbert, Gilbert, Gilbert Hombo, Houngbo, Gilbert Hombo, right? He's the current head. And IFAD was actually founded in 1977, right? And the parent organization of IFAD is United Nations Economic and Social Council, which is UNESC. Let's try and understand a little bit about other organizations as well. So the UNCTAD, the first option, which is the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. So what is the full form of UNCTAD? It is the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, which was established in 1964, and it is headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. Geneva, Switzerland. So it was established in 1964, and the headquarters is in Geneva, Switzerland, right? and it deals with trade, investment, and development issues. So this particular organization deals with trade, investment, and development issues. The current head is Mukhisa Kitui. Mukhisa Kitui. The spelling is Mukhisa, Mukhisa, and Kitui, 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 right? So that's the thing. The founding organization for United Nations Conference on Trade and Development is the United Nations General Assembly, right? So that's the thing. In the third option, we have IMF, which is very popular. You already might be knowing about it. It's an organization of 189 countries, which is working towards global monetary cooperation, secure financial stability, facilitate international trade, promote high employment and sustainable economic growth, and reduce poverty around the world. And it played a very pivotal role during the 2008 financial crisis. It was created in 1945, right? And as I said, about 189 countries is there. So basically, it works towards ensuring that the international monetary system is stable, the system of exchange rates and international payments, and enables countries to transact with each other. So like Pakistan today requires a bailout. IMF has promised to bail out Pakistan if it is willing to take up a few of transformations within its economy. So if Pakistan is willing to bring in those changes, then the IMF will provide fund. During 1991, we had to undergo similar criteria, in order to get the funds from IMF, and then India underwent a lot of changes. We opened up our economies and everything, and then because of which India did receive a lot of fund, and then we were on the progressive path once again. The current managing director is Kristalina Georgieva, Kristalina, Kristalina, Georgieva, Kristalina Georgieva, right? And you should also know about the chief economist, who happens to be an Indian, Miss Geeta Gopinath, right? And it is headquartered in Washington DC, United States. That's where it is located. Then we have WTO, again a very popular organization. Many of you already know about that. It's an intergovernmental organization that is concerned with the regulation of international trade between nations, right? And we've already seen a lot of contradictions and debates and all happening in WTO. So that's the thing. Currently, WTO has about 164 member states, right? And it is headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. And it was founded in 1995, or you can say the 1st of January 1995. So it's of recent origin. It's not that old actually. The current head of WTO is Mr. Pascal Lamy, Pascal, Pascal, and then the next name is Lamy, Lamy. So Mr. Pascal Lamy, right? So it works towards reduction of tariffs and other barriers to trade. So it works towards that. And then we have the fifth option. We have UNDP, which is the United Nations Development Program. It is again meant for development network, and it advocates for change and connects countries to knowledge, experience, and resources. And it's basically helps countries build a better life for their people. That's what United Nations Development Program does. It is headquartered in New York, which is, of course, you guys already know about that. It's New York, is United States. It was founded in 1965. The current head of UNDP is Mr. Achim Steiner, or Achim, I don't know, however you'd like to pronounce that. The spelling is ACHIM, S and then Achim and then STEINER, Achim Steiner. And the parent body of UNDP is again United Nations Economic and Social Council, UNESC, right? So that's the thing. So the answer for this particular question is that it is option 2, IFAD, which hosted a virtual observance event for the International Day of Family Remittances 2020. Yeah. Okay, let's continue. So the next question that we have here is, what is the theme of the 2020 World Day to combat desertification and drought? Is the theme food, feed, and fiber? Is this the theme? Let's grow the future together. Is it land has true value, invest in it? Or is it our land, our home, our future? What is it gonna be? Right. Well, June 17 marks the World Day to combat desertification and drought around the globe. So just remember that, So it was from 1994 that this day was observed by the United Nations General Assembly, and it was meant to bring to attention, the association between consumption and land. So that's, that's the important part of this particular thing, and this year the theme of World Day to combat desertification and drought is food, feed, and fiber. It is food, feed, and fiber. So here the correct answer is option 1, which is food, feed, and fiber is the theme of the world, is the theme of the 2020 World Day to combat desertification and drought. Right. So that's the thing. Then the next question says, which country has renamed the islets of Tonoshiro as Tonoshiro Senkaku, over which both China and Taiwan have claims? Is it Philippines, Vietnam, Japan, or is it South Korea, or is it North Korea? Well, this island has been a bone of contention between 3 different countries. It's actually China, Taiwan, and Japan. All 3 of them, they have laid their claims over this particular, islets. It's basically small islands. People don't usually live here, but then if a country happens to build its military base on this island, it can really serve huge purposes, right? So Japan's Ishigaki City Assembly, they passed a bill to rename and this particular group of islands from Tonoshiro to Tonoshiro Senkaku, right? And this has kind of offended China a lot, and Taiwan has also asked for restraint, but then that is what it is. So here the correct answer is, of course, Japan. The correct answer is Japan. Let's come to the next question. What does NOFHC stand for? What does NOFHC stand for? Is it New Operation Finance Hedge Corporation, Northern Ontario Heritage Fund Corporation, Non-Operative Financial Holding Company? Is it New Outsourcing Fund of Hedge Companies, or is it none of the above? Well, actually the full form of NOFHC is Non-Operative Financial Holding Company. Non-Operative Financial Holding Company, right? So basically RBI in 2013 had issued final guidelines to apply for new banking licenses in the private sector. Under these guidelines, RBI said that the finance companies the non-banking finance companies, NBFCs, can set up a bank which shall be a wholly owned non-operative financial holding company. So it would be a wholly owned non-financial operating company, and these non-operative financial holding company would be owned by non-banking financial companies, NBFCs, right? So like Muthoot Finance and so on and so forth, right? So the company so formed will be registered as a NBFC. On the basis of various applications, RBI issued in principle license to only 2 applicants, namely IDFC and microfinance lender, which is Bandhan Finance. So you can see the IDFC banks and the Bandhan Bank, right? Well, the objective of bringing into the concept of NOFHC is to separate several financial activities carried out by the same holding company. So the parent company can do other financial activities, and this non-operative financial holding company can focus on the banking part. This implies that the holding company can carry out other commercial, industrial as well as financial activities, but one should not encroach upon the function of another. So NOFHC will be allowed to engage itself, in several other financial activities in the form of joint ventures, subsidiaries, or associate ventures after 3 years of its formation, not before the first 3 years, right? And which is subject to some exemptions at all. That depends on the RBI, right? And most importantly, NOFHC, the non-operative financial holding company, which would be the bank, will have to follow a separate set of corporate governance rules as well, as well as any other exposure norms and all as well, right? So that's also a very important point about NOFHC. So basically here the full form of NOFHC is non-operative financial holding company. It's a very interesting concept actually. Okay, Galwan Valley. Do we need to talk about that? Galwan is the place in India where the Indian Army successfully stopped the Chinese intrusion. So in which state or UT is the Galwan Valley located? It's actually in Ladakh, right? And I guess all of us know what happened on the night of June 15. So basically, the Chinese PLA, the People's Liberation Army of China, had entered about 2 kilometers into our border, right? So after the 1962 war, China had created a new line of actual control, right? And that's actually they are already encroaching upon Indian land. But then for many years we've been considering that the line of actual control as some kind of a border, you can say. And at least Chinese were asked to stay in that particular area. But then China has this expansive policy where it wants to expand into other territories and capture other territories. So under this policy of theirs, they try to once again encroach upon this particular area, and they entered into the Galwan Valley, 2 kilometers deep into it. And Galwan River also, they diverted the water so that the PLA could station itself there. And Depsang, Gogra, Pangong, so these are other areas where China has been trying to encroach upon in India, right? So after a lot of military discussions and everything, it was discussed, it was planned that finally both the forces would return to their original positions. So on the 9th of June 15th, the Indian forces, particularly the Bihar regiment, 55 member battalion, went to check and see whether the Chinese had actually gone back or not. And then surprisingly, the Chinese forces, they were 300 in number, so they had called for backup from the camp that was near the border actually. So the backup had arrived, and there were 300 soldiers, and they had bats with nails in them. They had iron rods. They had, I don't know what else, baseball bats and all they had. And with that, they started to attack, the Indian Army. Colonel Santosh Babu actually died in that attack. And they thought, by killing Colonel Santosh Babu, was the commanding officer of that particular battalion. They thought, that by killing the commanding officer, the Indian Army would get frightened and they would run back, But they didn't realize the fact that, the Indian Armed Forces consider their commanding officer like their father. So in a way, Chinese forces, PLA, had killed, the father figure of that 55-member battalion. And once they saw the commanding officer fall, they went berserk. And they, these 55 people, they attacked the PLA. They killed more than, the 100 soldiers of the PLA. Each soldier, 4 to 5, they caught 4 to 5 Chinese. They took them down into the river. They sacrificed themselves, but along themselves, they killed them. They grabbed their, bats, the iron rods, and the, bats which had nails in them, and they again attacked, the Chinese forces, and they chased them back. And then, after a few days, the China did leave the Galwan Valley, and it returned to its original location, where it was supposed to be, behind the line of actual control. So this time India was able to teach China a good lesson, which is actually a good thing. Anyway, let's continue. The next question says, which country has once again endorsed India for a permanent seat on the United States Security Council during the RIC grouping meeting? RIC itself gives you the hint. It's Russia, India, and China. China will never endorse, so it has to be Russia. So it is actually Russia which endorsed India's India for a permanent seat at the United Nations Security Council, but it is China which has actually been vetoing every time. So that's the thing. Anyway, so the next question says, Union MSME Ministry has launched the Credit Guarantee Scheme for Subordinated Debt, CGSSD. The guarantee scheme is applicable to, this Credit Guarantee Scheme for Subordinate Debt, CGSSD, which was launched. Now, this scheme is part of the Atmanirbhar Bharat, right? And it is also called as Distressed Assets Fund Subordinate Debt for SMEs, right? So this is a scheme for the MSME sector, sorry, not SMME, right? It is MSME, right? And then the scheme seeks to extend support to the promoters of the operational MSMEs which are stressed and have become non-performing assets as on 30th of April 2020. As per the scheme, guarantee cover worth of 20,000 crores will be provided to the promoters who can take debt from the bank to further invest in the stressed MSME as equity, right? And the scheme will be operationalized through Credit Guarantee Fund Trust for MSMEs, for MSCs, medium small enterprises, micro small enterprises and all, right? So that's the thing. So about 2 lakh MSMEs would be provided support under this particular scheme. So here the right answer is, the scheme is applicable to stressed assets and NPAs in the MSME sector, right? So that is the answer in this particular case. Yeah, let's go to the next question. So the next question says, which of the following has developed a rare earth based magnetocaloric material that can be efficiently used for the treatment of cancer? Is it ARCI? Is it IASST? Is it NIPER? Is it CSIR? Or none of these? Well, let's try and understand a few things. It's actually, the right answer here is it is ARCI. So scientists at the International Advanced, ARCI's full form is International Advanced Research Center for Powder Metallurgy and New Materials. So but then it's written as ARCI, though the full form is International Advanced Research Center for Powder Metallurgy and New Materials. It's an autonomous research and development center of the Department of Science and Technology, which has actually developed a rare earth based magnetocaloric material that can be effectively used for cancer treatment. So this magnetocaloric material, which is developed by ARCI, they're already being tested at Sri Chitra Tirunal Institute for Medical Science and Technology, which is SCTIMST. A paper of the research work has been published in the Journal of Alloys and Compounds as well. So that's something that we should know, right? So that's the thing. So ARCI, it's a state-of-the-art facility for research and development, and basically the purpose of this organization is to develop high-performance material and processes for niche market, demonstration of technologies at prototype scales also, and it transfers the technologies to the Indian industry as well. Then we have IASST, which is the Institute of Advanced Study in Science and Technology, IASST, which is a Guwahati-based organization, and it is an association of safety and survival training organization whose mission is, to facilitate the exchange of information on matters related to safety in the maritime environment and to promote continuous improvement in safety and survival training internationally, right? So that is your IASST. Then we have NIPER, which is National Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research. What's the full form of NIPER? It is National Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research, right? And it's located in Mohali, Punjab, so that's where right, it is located. It's part of the 7 schools under India's Ministry of Chemical and Fertilizers, right? So that's what NIPER is. Then we have CSIR, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research. It's an apex body for research. It's an autonomous body again, right? It was set up in 1942. So that's the thing. So as of 2013, this organization CSIR, it runs 38 laboratories or institutes, you can say, 39 outreach centers, 3 innovation centers, 5 units throughout the nation. So that's what it does, and it has more than 14,000 staff, right? And its research and development activities include aerospace engineering, structural engineering, ocean sciences, life sciences, metallurgy. So all of these things are handled by CSIR. Even in they do research in the areas of chemicals, mining, food, petrol, leather, and environmental science as well, right? So that's the thing. The Director General of CSIR is Mr. Shekhar C. Mande. Mr. Shekhar C. Mande, Mande. Mr. Shekhar Mande. That's what you can say. And the President of CSIR is always the Prime Minister of India, right? So that's the thing. Okay, so here the right answer is ARCI. Yeah. Let's move on to the next question. Which of the following is the largest component of India's external debt? And this is a very important concept at March end 2020 as per the RBI data. Is it short-term trade deficit? Short-term trade credit. Is it commercial borrowing, or non-resident deposits, or is it IMF? Long-term credit. Right. Let's try and understand these terms first before we discuss any options. Before we discuss the answer. So the trade deficit, trade credit, it has been identified as a critical source of short-term and long-term, financing for listed manufacturing companies, right? So trade credit contract is a legally binding agreement between 2 parties that allows a buyer to purchase goods or services on account and pay the supplier at a later date. So we can have short-term trade credit, which is an option 1, or we can have long-term trade credit, which is an option 5, right? Commercial borrowing, or you can call it as external commercial borrowing. These are the loans in India made by non-resident lenders in foreign currency to Indian borrowers. So if there's a non-resident who's not living in India, makes an offer of loans in India in Indian currency for Indian borrowers. So this is known as ECB, which is external commercial borrowing. They're used widely in India to facilitate access to foreign money by Indian corporations and PSUs, right? And what are NRI deposits? Right? NRI deposits are foreign currency deposits made in an Indian bank by a non-resident Indian. So if an NRI deposits money in Indian bank, that is NRI deposits. These deposits can be repatriated by the NRI on maturity along with the interest earned. So the NRI can take back the return. So that is what NRI is. NRI deposit is. And Indian IMF, you already know that, right? So at the end of March 2020, India's external debt was placed at $558.5 billion US dollars. You should write down this figure. India's external debt was placed at $558.5 US dollars as of the end of March 2020, and this recorded an increase of $15.4 billion over its level at the end of March 2019. So it recorded an increase of 15.4 billion US dollars, right? So that's the thing. So valuation gains due to appreciation of US dollar is also there vis-a-vis Indian rupee, and other major currencies were placed at US dollars of 16.6 billion, right? Excluding the valuation effect, the increase in external debt would have been $32.0 billion instead of $15.4 billion at the end of March 2020 over the end of March 2019. So that's the thing. And commercial borrowing, commercial borrowing remained the largest component of external debt with a share of 39.4%, followed by non-resident deposits, which were at 23.4%, and short-term trade credit, which was at 18.2%, right? And at the end of March 2020, long-term debt with original maturity above 1 year was placed at around US dollars 451.7 billion, which recorded an increase of 17.0 billion over its level at the end of March 2019. So these are certain things that you should know. So to come to the answer, which of the following is the largest component of India's external debt as of March 2020? It is commercial borrowing. The answer here is commercial borrowing. Yeah. Okay, now this question is quite interesting. What is the ideal target of the NASA's DART, Double Asteroid Redirection Test mission, which will be launched in July 2021? Is it Didymos? Is it Bennu? Is it Apophis? Or is it Cirrus? Or is it Tautai? However you'd like to pronounce that, right? So the Double Asteroid Redirection Test, DART, it's a mission. This is directed by NASA to the the purpose of this mission is to develop some kind of a planetary defense mechanism. As you very well know, our planet Earth is also vulnerable to being hit by any asteroid. So we need to develop some kind of a technology that is able to defend our planet from these external threats like an asteroid. So DART is a planetary defense driven test of technologies for preventing an impact of Earth by a hazardous asteroid, right? That will be the first demonstration of the kinetic impact technique to change the motion of an asteroid in space. So basically we cannot destroy the asteroid, but we can definitely try and change the direction of the asteroid, right? So that is the thing in this case. And the first asteroid that we are actually targeting is the Didymos one, right? Is a target of DART demonstration, right? So that's the thing. So what is this Didymos? It's a provisionally designated, so it's a sub-kilometer asteroid, and it is synchronous with some kind of a binary system, which is classified as potentially hazardous asteroid and near Earth object of both the Apollo and the Amor group, right? So it has a radius of close to 390 meters. So it's Didymos is DIDYMOS is a very dangerous asteroid, and basically these asteroids, they circle around the sun. So even this Didymos, it orbits around the sun, and maybe in one of those circles it can actually hit it can actually hit our planet, not only India, but it can hit any of the group, right? So it has an orbital period of around 771 days. India rotates around the sun in 365 days. This does it in 771 days. And it was first discovered on 11th of April 1996, right? So that's the thing. Then we have Bennu, which is a carbonaceous asteroid. So it has a lot of carbon component in it, Again, it belongs to the Apollo group. It was discovered by the Linear project it was discovered on 11 September 1999 by the Linear project. Again, it was some kind of a space project, Linear project. It is a potentially hazardous object, that is listed on the Century Risk table with the second highest cumulative ratio. So it's basically very dangerous. I'm not going to explain the scientific terms, right? So its orbital period around the sun is around 438 days. 438 days, right? So that's the thing. Then we have Apophis, which is a near-Earth asteroid with a diameter of around 370 meters, and which really caused a brief period of concern during December 2004. So it was discovered in June 2004, and it really caused concern in December 2014, because initial observations indicated a probability of up to 2.7% that it would hit Earth on April 13, 2029. So maybe it's 2020, in the next 9 years, maybe this asteroid could hit the planet, and therefore we really need to develop some kind of a mechanism for defense. And the orbital period is around 324 days. The radius is small, so it's a small asteroid, 185 meters, but then it can still cause grave concern to our planet. And as you know, it is also said that dinosaurs were actually destroyed because of some asteroid attack on our planet. So anything can happen. Then we have Ceres is the largest object in the main asteroid belt that lies between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter, right? And it has an orbital period of around 1,682 days. 1,682 days, right? And then we have Totais, you might call it as. It's an elongated stony asteroid, so it's a very long stony asteroid. It keeps rotating also slowly and gradually, and it's also a very near Earth object and potentially hazardous asteroid as well. And it is close to 2.5 kilometers in diameter, which is huge, right? 2.5 kilometers in diameters, and like half of Delhi can go if this particular asteroid hits, right? And it has an orbital period of around 1,471 days, right? So that's the thing. So if these small asteroids were to enter our system, that what we call it atmosphere, that probably a part of it would get burnt, but since they are so huge, it would not get burnt entirely, and there is a very high possibility that it would actually hit the planet, right? Where it hits and where it does not hit, there's something we don't know. So DART, double asteroid redirection test mission, which will be launched, the ideal target is Didymos, and this really has a real threat to our planet as well, right? So the next question says, the people of which of the following African nations have recently elected Lazarus Chakwera as the country's president? Is it Burundi, Tanzania, Malawi, South Africa, or is it Mozambique? Well, Mr. Chakwera, Lazarus McCarthy Chakwera, who was born in 1955, he is actually a theologian and a politician as well, and he of late he became the president of Malawi in June 2020. So in addition to serving as president of Malawi, he also gave himself the cabinet portfolio of the Ministry of Defense as well, right? And Malawi is actually a landlocked country in southeastern Africa, right, which is defined by its topography of highlands split by the Great Rift Valley and enormous Malawi Lake as well, right? The capital of Malawi is Lilongwe, 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 right? Lilongwe. And the currency of Malawi is Malawian Kwacha, Malawian, MALAWIAN, Malawian. Then we have Kwacha, KWACHA, Malawian Kwacha. Okay, then in option 1 we also have this country Burundi, which is also called as Republic of Burundi. Again, it's a landlocked country, right? The capital of Burundi is Gitega, Gitega, Gitega. The capital of Burundi is Gitega, and the currency is Burundian franc, BURUNDIAN, Burundian franc, 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 right? And it has a mere population of around 1.12 crores. that I think is somewhere around Delhi or less than that approximately, so that's the kind of population this place has. Anyway, then we have Tanzania, which is an East African country, and it has like vast wilderness areas. They include the plains of Serengeti National Park, a safari mecca, populated by the big 5 games, which is elephant, lion, leopard, buffalo, rhino. And now it also has the Kilimanjaro National Park. It is home to Africa's highest mountain also. And offshore lies the tropical islands of Zanzibar is also there in Tanzania, so that's the thing. So the capital of Tanzania is Dodoma, 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 right? The capital of Tanzania is Dodoma, and the currency is Tanzanian shilling, TANZANIN, Tanzanian shilling, SHILLING, Tanzanian shilling. South Africa, all of you know, it's famous for its Kruger National Park and all, right? And the capital is Cape Town. Capital of this thing is Cape Town, and the currency of South Africa is South African Rand, RAND, South African Rand. And then we have Mozambique again, its capital is Maputo, 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 and the currency of Mozambique is Mozambican Medical. They call it as Mozambican Medical, MOZAMBICAN, Mozambican. Then we have METICAL, Mozambican Medical, right? So that is the currency, right? So that's the thing. Okay, so here the right answer is that Mr. Lazarus Chakwera, he became the president of Malawi. He became the president of Malawi, right? Okay, let's come to the next question, which talks about rupee drawing arrangement, RDA, which is related to money receiving through exports, money receiving through imports, money receiving through remittances, money receiving through IMF, money receiving through West Bengal. Basically, rupee drawing arrangement, it's a channel to receive cross-border remittances from overseas jurisdictions. Under this arrangement, the authorized Category 1 banks enter into tie-ups with the non-resident exchange houses in the Financial Action Task Force compliant countries, so that's what they do. And here it also it should be mentioned that under the rupee drawing arrangements, not more than 15 lakh of transactions can not, so each of the transaction size cannot be more than 15 lakhs, so that's something that you should know. And therefore in this case the right answer is option 3. It is money received through remittances, not through IMF, World Bank, or exports or imports per se. Okay, let's come to the next question, which talks about which state in India has launched the world's largest convalescent plasma project. Is it Gujarat, Telangana, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, or is it Tamil Nadu? Basically, this plasma project is a plasma therapy trial kind of a thing, which can be used to treat COVID-19 patients. So basically, any patient who has been cured, we can take out the plasma from their body, and then we can inject this plasma right into another patient, and this plasma would then build the required immune system to defend another patient against COVID-19. And Maharashtra has launched this project, which is called Project Platina, as the world's largest plasma therapy trial for COVID-19 patients, right? And Project Platina will supply plasma to 500 serious COVID-19 patients in Maharashtra, and will be gradually scaled up to cater to at least 5,000 serious patients by August. It was supposed to do that, right? So here the right answer is Maharashtra. The right answer here is Maharashtra. Then we have the next question, which says is, in which state will Mahanadi Coal Fields, a subsidiary of Coal India Limited, invest rupees 60,000 crores by 2025-26? Is it Madhya Pradesh? Is it Chhattisgarh? Is it Jharkhand? Is it Odisha? Or is it Bihar. Well, the Mahanadi Coalfields Limited, MCL, that's popularly known as, it's actually a subsidiary of Coal India Limited, and it has said that it will invest about 60,000 crores in Odisha by 2025-26, right? And with this investment, they plan to acquire, land for 3 new mines, which the 3 mines that they have named it as Siarmal, Siarmal, Siarmal. Then we have Balbhadra North, which is Balbhadra, Balbhadra North. And then we have Talcher, Talcher, Talcher coalfields. So Mahanadi coalfields would be making such a huge investment in Odisha, right? So that's the thing. Then the next question talks about CTS. So under CTS, the physical checks are finally kept with the presenting bank, the pay bank, the person who presented the check, the person who issued the check, or is it none of the above? Well, basically, if we talk about the CTS, the full form of CTS is Check Truncation System. CTS, Check Truncation System, or Image Based Clearing System. Another name for this is Image Based Clearing System. It's a project of the RBI which was commenced in 2010 for faster clearing of checks. So CTS is based on a check truncation or online image based check clearing system where check images and magnetic ink character recognition data are captured at the collecting bank branch and transmitted electronically. So that's what it does, right? So under CTS, the physical checks are retained at the presenting bank and do not move to the paying banks, right? In case a customer desires, banks can provide images of checks, duly certified or authenticated, right? So on the CTS, the physical checks are finally kept with the presenting bank. That's the right answer in this case, right? Let's come to the next question, which of the following IITs has prepared and offered the world's first ever online BSc degree in programming and data science? Is it IIT Delhi, Bombay, Madras, Kharagpur, or is it Kanpur? Well, the right answer here is actually IIT Madras, right, which has launched this world's first online BSc degree course in programming and data science. And data science is a hugely growing field nowadays, So this course will be open to anyone who has passed class 12 with English and maths at class 10 level, right, and enrolled in any on-campus undergraduate courses. So किसी भी undergraduate courses में हो सकता है, you can be in any of the undergraduate courses and you can still pursue this course. Even the current batch of students who are completing their class 12 are eligible to apply for this course. So it's an online course, so there is no restriction, right? So graduates and working professionals can also take up this program. So if you have graduated, you are working, you have an interest in programming and data science, you can apply for this fantastic course, right? And therefore the right answer here is IIT Madras, right? Let's come to the next question. Now this question says, each year the World Bank updates classification of countries by income, on July 1. Which of our neighboring countries has moved from low income group to lower middle income group on 1st of July? Is it Pakistan? Is it Nepal? Is it Bhutan? Or is it Bangladesh? Or is it none of the above? Well, let's try and understand a few things out here. Now, the World Bank, what it does is, it assigns the world's economies to 4 income groups, which are low, lower middle, upper middle, and high income groups. Which are the 4 income groups? Low, lower middle, upper middle, and high income groups, income countries, right? So the classifications are updated each year on July 1st, right? And are based on GNI, gross national income, right, per capita. So GNI per capita in current US dollars, right? And they use some kind of an atlas method. So I'm not going to go into the details of this atlas method and how do they do it, right? So when it comes to this classification, they keep all the factors into consideration, like economic growth, inflation, exchange rates, the population, and population growth influence on GNI per capita, and so on and so forth. So the revised estimations as of July 1st, 2020 is the low income group countries would be those where GNI per capita is less than 1,036 US dollars. The low income group would be that group where in the countries where the GNI per capita is less than 1,036 dollars. Then we have a lower middle income group where the GNI would be between 1,036 and 4,045 US dollars. The lower middle income group would be that which has GNI per capita between 1,036 and 4,045 US dollars. Then we have upper middle income group, which has the category is designated by 4,046 US dollars to 12,535 US dollars. And then we have high income groups where the GNI per capita in US dollars is going to be greater than 12,535. 12,535. So that's the thing. And the neighbor that here we are talking about, which has moved from lower income group to lower middle income group, is Nepal. So the right answer here is Nepal, right? Nepal. And you should know, some countries have gone, so some other countries have also improved, like Benin, BENIN, which has moved from low income to lower middle income. Indonesia has moved from lower middle income to upper middle income. Mauritius has moved from upper middle income to high income. Nauru, NAURU, has moved from upper middle income to high income. Romania has moved from upper middle income to high income, and Tanzania has moved from low income to lower middle income as well, right? So that's the thing. And countries like Algeria have moved in a reverse direction from upper middle income group to lower middle income group. Sri Lanka has moved from upper middle income group to lower middle income group. Sudan has moved from lower middle income group to lower income group. So SAB, these are the things also that have actually happened, right? So that's the thing, right? So I hope this makes sense. So here the right answer is, of course, Nepal. Yeah, so I hope this makes sense, everybody. Let's come to the next question. In which of the following areas has India recently entered the Guinness World Records? Right? Is it India's 2018 Tiger Census via Camera Trap Wildlife Survey? Is it MGNREGS scheme, or is it the Unnat Jyoti scheme, or is it the public distribution system? The right answer here is 1, which is India's 2018 Tiger Census scheme. Census via Camera Trap Wildlife Survey. So India has now entered into the Guinness Book of World Records for being the world's largest camera trap wildlife survey. The results of the 4th cycle of the All India Tiger Estimation 2018 were declared to the nation on Global Tiger Day last year by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And for the survey, camera traps were placed at 26,838 locations across 141 different sites. It has estimated about 2,967 tigers, or 75% of the global tiger population in India. So 75% of the global tiger population is in India, which is actually an increase from 2014, when we only had 2,226 in numbers. MGNREGS scheme is something you already know. The full form is the Mahatma Gandhi Employment Guarantee Act. So our guarantee scheme, the Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee. So the full form is Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, which came into effect, under the Mahatma Gandhi Employment Guarantee Act 2005. It was a UPA scheme, which was launched in September 2005 by Dr. Manmohan Singh, which gives some kind of a right to work, right? Then we have the Unnat Jyoti scheme. So Unnat Jyoti is, under this scheme, we are trying to save electricity, and provide affordable LEDs to the people, So it was launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in May 2015. And public distribution system is nothing but, distribution of essential commodities to large number of poor people through a network of fair price shops at a subsidized price on recurring basis, right? So the right answer here is 1. India entered into the Guinness Book of World Record because of India's 2018 tiger census via camera trap wildlife survey. Yes, I hope this makes sense, everybody, right? Then we have, as per norms, the low risk funds are marked, as yellow color, brown color, green color, blue color. So what are these colors? Let's try and understand a little bit. So we all know that SEBI is a market regulator, the securities market, the stock market regulator. It has issued a framework on product labeling with color coding for mutual funds, a move that would help investors assess the risk associated with different schemes. So as per the norms, product labels carrying details about the scheme would be disclosed on the front page of initial offering application forms. Besides, the labels would have to be placed in common application forms and advertisements as well. So all of these color coding schemes has to be there in advertisement and common application forms in the initial public offerings, in all of these places. So the regulator has also decided to use color codes to indicate the level of risk associated with the product. So a blue color coded box would indicate low risk. Yellow would signify a medium risk. Brown would represent scheme with high risk. So that's the thing. So low risk would be represented by blue color. This is something that you should. This is the main part of the argument that you should understand. Yellow would signify a medium risk, and brown would represent high risk. Right. So as per right answer here would become, as per the SEBI norms, the low risk funds are marked by the blue color. So I hope you are able to understand this. So this brings us to the end of the session. So I've mentioned before this as well in other sessions that when it comes to learning general knowledge, when it comes to remembering current affairs and general knowledge, it is vital that we create some stories, some background to each of the data points that we are trying to remember, and that will really help us remember the data points easily, right? And this is something that you should do for all the kinds of questions that you come across. So with this, I'd like to end today's session. Thank you very much. Thank you.